In the heart of California, amidst the towering Sierra Nevada mountains, a river relentlessly carved its way through the rugged terrain. This was the American River, and every day it whispered tales of hidden treasures to those who dared to listen. It is the year 1849, and you are waking up to the crisp mountain air, damp from the ever-present mist rising off the river. Dawn breaks slowly in these parts, a soft gray light filtering through the heavy fog that clings to the valleys. Your tent, a simple canvas shelter, offers little protection against the chill and the sounds of the night. The rustling of small animals seeking their day and the distant hoot of an owl still echo around you. The air is fresh, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. You pull on your well-worn boots, their leather soft and supple from countless hours spent beside the river's edge. Your hands, calloused and scarred, find their way to the brim of your hat. As you tip it down over your eyes, you are ready for another day in the pursuit of gold. You join the steady stream of men who have risen with the sun, all drawn to the same life-changing promise that this land holds. As you make your way to the riverbank, you can hear the murmur of voices, the clang of tools, and the rhythmic rush of water as it tumbles over smooth stones. There are thousands of men here, all hoping to strike it rich, all panning for gold. Some have been here for years, their faces weathered and worn, their spirits unbroken. Others have just arrived, their eyes bright with hope, and their steps eager and fast. You reach your usual spot along the river's edge. It's not much, just a patch of bare earth and a shallow stretch of water. But it's here that you've spent countless hours in the hope of finding a nugget, a single piece of gold that could change everything. With a deep breath, you begin your work, letting the rhythm of the water and the feel of the pan in your hands become your focus. Hour after hour, you work alongside these men, each bent over his own patch of earth. The sun climbs higher in the sky, casting long shadows from the trees that line the river's edge. The air grows warmer, making the effort of your work a bit more bearable. As the day progresses, you see the occasional flash of gold in someone else's pan. Each speck of gold, no matter how small, sends ripples of excitement through the crowd. Some men shout, others remain stoic, but all eyes turn towards the lucky one with the newfound treasure. But for you, the day passes without such excitement. The water churns and shifts in your pan, but the glint of gold remains elusive. Still, you persist, driven by the dream that keeps whispering just beyond your grasp. The sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The air cools, bringing with it the promise of rest. You pack up your worn equipment, your hands aching, and your back heavy with fatigue. As you turn to leave, you see the tents of the other prospectors dotting the landscape like fallen stars. One by one, the men return to their camps, their faces etched with the weariness of the day. In the gathering dusk, you make your way to your tent, the silence broken only by the sound of your footsteps and the distant calls of birds. Inside, a simple fire awaits, its embers glowing like captured stars. You sit by the fire, letting the warmth soothe your tired muscles. As darkness falls, you eat your meager meal, the taste of dried meat and hard biscuits, a familiar comfort. When the last embers fade and the stars begin to peek through the canopy, you crawl into your blankets, seeking the solace of sleep. But even in sleep, the whisper of the river persists, carrying with it the murmur of men and the ceaseless rush of water. For even in dreams, the lure of the gold remains strong, and you find yourself searching still. Levi Strauss had come to California seeking not gold, but something far more valuable: opportunity. He had observed the frenzy of the gold rush, and had seen the needs of the men who toiled endlessly by the rivers. What he found was a market desperate for durable goods, and so he began selling sturdy clothing, including a particular sturdy material, denim. His business sense keen, he partnered with a tailor, Jacob Davis, who had discovered a way to strengthen pants with rivets at stress points. This innovation made the trousers not just durable, but practical for miners. Together, they filed a patent for this improvement, setting in motion a legacy that would span generations. But the gold rush also brought about a darker side of human nature. As towns sprung up almost overnight to cater to the miners, they became hubs not just for commerce, but for vice and lawlessness. Gambling, drinking, and violence were rampant, and the lure of easy money led many to seek their fortunes, not with picks and pans, but with deceptions and vices. Despite the danger, some souls remained unmoved, clinging to their morals and seeking a different kind of fortune. Let us meet one such soul, a woman named Isabella. Isabella had come to the mining town of Hangtown, seeking a new start. She had heard tales of the Wild West, of gunslinging cowboys and lawless saloons, but she had come with dreams of building an honest life. She opened a small store, a beacon of order in a sea of chaos. Her shelves were stocked with basic necessities, food, tools, and even books. But her kind eyes and lending hand were what truly drew people in. She became known not just as Isabella, the store owner, but as Isabella, the Angel of Hangtown, for she offered more than just goods. She provided solace, a listening ear, and sometimes even a helping hand to those who had lost their way. She saw the desperation in their eyes, the toll, the harsh life of a miner, or the allure of easy money had taken on them. She knew that for many, Hangtown was more than just a stop on their journey to riches. It was often their final destination. Then there was Samuel, a young man who had come to Hangtown seeking adventure. He dreamed of becoming a sheriff, bringing law and order to this wild frontier. He had a quick draw and a steady aim, and he carried himself with the confidence of one who believed in justice. However, his dreams were challenged daily by the realities of Hangtown. The local sheriff was corrupt, more interested in lining his own pockets than upholding the law. Samuel saw the suffering that resulted, the families torn apart by gambling debts, the miners robbed and beaten on their way to the river, and the innocent caught in the crossfire of saloon brawls. He knew that if he wanted to bring real change to Hangtown, he would have to do it on his own terms. Now, as twilight paints the sky in hues of orange and purple, let's immerse ourselves in the lively ambience of a San Francisco saloon. The air within is thick with the scent of stale waste, sweat, and stale tobacco. Oil lamps cast a dim glow on the rough-hewn wooden walls, their light dancing in the swirling dust motes. Piano in the corner belts out a raucous tune, competing with the murmur of conversation and the clink of glasses. Men of all types fill the room. Prospectors with grime-streaked faces and calloused hands sit beside merchants in finer clothes, all united in their thirst for drink and good company. At the bar, a bartender with a practiced eye and steady hand pours drinks. His movements economical, his gaze sharp and knowing. Behind him, shelves are stacked with bottles of whiskey, rum, and beer, each promising a temporary escape from the harsh realities of life on the frontier. In the corner booth, two men play a heated game of cards. Their faces are illuminated by the lamplight, their expressions a mix of concentration and anticipation. The stakes are high, and with each card dealt, the tension rises. At a nearby table, a lone musician strums a guitar, his voice a rich baritone as he sings of love and loss, of adventure and the open road. His songs weave tales of distant lands and faraway hearts, offering a momentary escape for those who listen. On the dance floor, couples move in a close embrace, their bodies swaying to the music, their laughter echoing in the crowded room. For a few stolen moments, they forget the dust, the heat, and the constant struggle that defines their lives. And then there are those who stand silently by the windows, their faces pale, their eyes distant. They are the dreamers, the ones who came to the city with hopes of striking it rich, only to find themselves trapped in a life of menial labor and crushing poverty. The music swells, the laughter echoes, and the piano plays on, oblivious to the silent despair that lingers in the shadows. As the night deepens, the saloon becomes a microcosm of life on the frontier, a place where fortunes are made and broken, where dreams are born and dashed, and where the only constant is the relentless march of time. The clock on the wall ticks steadily, marking the passing hours and reminding everyone that tomorrow is another day on the unforgiving frontier. So we invite you to stay a while longer, to lose yourself in the music, the laughter, and the fleeting joys of this moment. Let the piano's melody carry you away and the whiskey warm your spirit. For here, in this dimly lit saloon, the dreams of thousands converge. Each person's story adding another chapter to the epic tale of the California Gold Rush. Are you cut out for survival? It depends on many things, including your profession. Let us go back to 1849 and find out how long you would last as a gold miner during the California Gold Rush. If you were an average gold miner, you wouldn't last long. After all, the average prospector wasn't very skilled at mining. and he certainly wasn't able to live off the land like some frontiersmen could. But what about you? Well, let's find out. You wake up early? You can sleep in later as a gold miner. Nobody's gonna come looking for you if you don't show up to work. In fact, nobody really cares whether you live or die. If you do decide to get up early, you're rewarded with the sight of a beautiful sunrise over the Sierra Nevadas. You take a moment to breathe in the fresh mountain air, hoping it will reinvigorate you after the previous day's hard work. But quickly you remember that today will be hard, harder than most days, because today you're crossing the Sierra Nevadas. Before you can cross the mountains, though, you must pack up your belongings. This is done pretty quickly, since you don't have much to start with. A crusty blanket, a cook pot, some old clothes, and your tools of the trade, your pan, your pickaxe, and your shovel. Also, you always carry a small bag of flour and some salt pork, along with a canteen filled with water. As you approach the mountain pass, you remember what everyone has told you about the difficulties ahead. Many have tried to cross the mountains, but few make it. Those that don't usually end up frozen in the snow or dead from exposure. But you need to get across. On the other side of the mountains lies the Motherlode, where gold nuggets the size of goose eggs have been found. You know you're in for a tough climb, and you see the path others have carved out of the mountainside, so steep that even a mule would struggle to scale it. You begin your trek upward. This is the first obstacle that most would-be prospectors fail. They simply turn back when they realize they can't complete the journey. But you're determined to succeed. So with each swing of your pickaxe, you drive yourself higher and higher. For hours, you chip away at the solid rock face. Then suddenly your pickaxe strikes something odd. It sounds hollow. At first you think it's just a hole made by some burrowing animal. But as you continue to chip away at the rock, you discover a small cavern hidden behind the wall. Inside you find a small pile of tools, suggesting that whoever owned them didn't make it out alive. You look out at the treacherous path. You just hope you fare better than this poor soul. With that somber thought, you leave the cavern and continue your climb. It's getting late, and you need to find somewhere to stay for the night. Eventually you spot a flat area at the top of the mountain and set up camp. You gather wood and build a small fire to keep warm. The sky is filled with stars, and for a moment you feel truly alone in the universe. But that feeling is short-lived as you hear some rustling in the bushes nearby. Could it be bear? Here's hoping it's not a mountain lion. Either way, you know you won't win a fight against such a creature. You finish cooking your dinner of salt pork and beans, and try to ignore the growling coming from outside your makeshift shelter. You eat quickly, and then lay down to sleep, keeping your hand on the knife you took from the dead miner. You'd hoped the bear would move on, but now it's pushing its way through the underbrush, drawn to the delicious smell of your pork. Oh dear, now what? Do you grab your knife and step outside to face the bear? What would you do if a ferocious wild animal was tearing apart your camp? Would you defend your food? Or would you run and abandon it to the hungry beast? When the sun comes up, you decide it's time to head out. The ascent was difficult, but you know the real challenge will be making it down the mountain. And sure enough, almost immediately someone stumbles past you, knocked out cold. Another victim of the mountain pass. You reach the bottom exhausted and demoralized. Most of your supplies are gone, and you re-wondering if finding gold is worth such a grueling journey. But you've come too far to quit now, so wiping the dirt off your clothes, you head out to find some gold. Your search begins in earnest. All around you are men trying to strike it rich. Only sounds are the rush of the water and the clang of their pans. You select a spot where the water is shallow and the gravel is loose. These conditions will make it easier to separate the gold from the dirt. Using your shovel, you dig up a quantity of gravel and dirt. Then you put it in your pan and bend over the running water. You swish the contents of your pan around in the water, letting the current wash away the lighter particles until only the heaviest remain. Then you tilt the pan slightly, allowing the gold to settle at the bottom. You scan the pan. Are those flecks actually gold? You can't tell. You'll have to get closer. Squinting, you'll lean over the pan, and that's when you hear a shout. "Hold it right there, you dirty thief," says a man pointing his shotgun at you. That's my claim. You glance over at the man and realize he's serious. You quickly drop to your knees, holding your hands up in surrender. "Look, I didn't know this was your claim. I swear I'll move." He lowers the gun slightly, then asks, "What's your name?" You pause, realizing you never came up with an alias. You were just so sure you'd be panning for gold by now that it didn't matter. You couldn't come up with a fake name fast enough. "Well, that's a mighty fine name," he says. "I'm gonna call you no good Nick. Now get. You're lucky I'm in a good mood today." Scurry away, trying to find another spot to pan. The entire day you jump from claim to claim, always keeping an eye out for hostile prospectors. Finally, as the sun begins to set, you find an abandoned claim and start digging. You pan the dirt and let the water run through it. As the dirt settles, you look closely and see a tiny glint of gold. You've struck it rich. But how long could you survive as a gold miner? If you were a skilled miner, you could probably last months or even years. You would have developed techniques for panning that allowed you to separate the gold from the dirt more efficiently. Plus, you would know how to live off the land, eating what little game you could catch, and gathering fruit and vegetables from the wild. However, if you were an average gold miner, you wouldn't last long. After all, the average prospector was very skilled at mining, and he certainly was unable to live off the land like some frontiersmen could. But what about you? Did you last long enough to find some gold? Hopefully so. Otherwise, you might have ended up like most of the 49ers, empty-handed and disillusioned. And if you want to learn how long you would last as a lumberjack in the 1800s, then click here. We've got another great video waiting for you. The year is 1848, and a young man named Sam heads into the hills of California with a pickaxe, eager to strike it rich. Thousands have already come before him, spurred on by the promise of gold, the glint of wealth whispering from the earth. They claw through the mud and dust, their dreams weighing more than the nuggets they find. Days turn to weeks, weeks to months. For some, the land yields treasure. For most, it offers only disappointment. But then there's Levi. He approaches not with a pickaxe, but with rolls of canvas. He has no lust for gold, but a quiet vision of something different. Picture yourself back in 1853. The gold rush is still booming in California, but the easy gold has been found. Camps are crowded, tempers are short, and clothes, especially trousers, are wearing thin. The work is unforgiving, and miners are desperate for gear that doesn't give out after a week of labor. They come across a tent where a man sits calmly stitching. His name is Levi Strauss, and his fortune won't be found in the riverbeds, but stitched slowly into the fabric of American history. You see, while thousands pan for gold, Levi isn't just selling ordinary supplies. He's offering a lifeline, tough trousers designed to withstand the toughest jobs. Each stitch is a promise, each rivet a reinforcement against the elements and exhaustion. And while other fortunes are made and lost by morning, Levi's dream is growing steadier with each passing day. Now, let's take a moment to really understand what life was like in those days. Imagine waking up before dawn, the air crisp with the smell of pine and possibility. You join the throngs of men heading into the hills, each with a pickaxe and a dream of wealth. The sun climbs higher as you work, the air thick with dust and sweat. You eat a simple meal, then it's back to the relentless rhythm of digging, hoping for a lucky strike. As evening falls, you gather around a campfire with your fellow workers, sharing stories and maybe a bit of gold. It's hard, lonely work, and the race for fortune can make even the strongest man feel small and weary. In the midst of this, Levi's presence is like an anchor. His shop may be small, but the quality of his wares is not. When miners pull on his trousers, they're not just putting on clothes. They're donning a symbol of endurance, a testament to the quiet strength that doesn't always seek attention. They're ready to face another day of toil, of facing nature's fury and the gnawing ache of loneliness. As the years roll by, Levi's reputation grows, becoming a beacon in the rough landscape of the gold rush. His brand is known not just for quality, but for dependability, a promise written in every stitch. And as the rush slows and many head home, empty-handed or broken, Levi's legacy is just beginning. It's become an emblem of the era, a quiet giant standing tall against the fading rumble of fortune seekers. He represents something deeper, the spirit of quiet tenacity, of how sometimes the greatest riches are earned, not by chasing dreams, but by providing the tools to those who do. In this rugged, unforgiving time, Levi's humility is his guiding star. He isn't driven by greed or the thirst for fame, but by a steady purpose, a will to provide. He's content with a simple life, finding joy in a well-made garment, the satisfaction of a job well done, and the quiet pride of knowing his work is helping others endure. But how did Levi start? How did he go from a small Bavarian village to the heart of the gold rush? Well, let's go back to his beginnings. Imagine a small village nestled amidst rolling hills and vineyards. Here, in this peaceful place, Levi Strauss was born. As a young man, he had a natural curiosity, a thirst for adventure that drew him beyond the familiar hills of his hometown. He learned the value of hard work, the importance of quality, and the quiet dignity of honest living. These lessons, etched deeply in his soul, would serve as his compass, guiding him through the uncertainties of life. With a heart full of dreams and a spirit of adventure, Levi set off to America, the land of promise. He joined his family's dry goods business, learning the intricacies of trade, the language of commerce. Years passed filled with growth, learning, and the steady rhythm of working alongside his family. Then the news arrived, a whisper at first, then a roar. California was struck gold. The news echoed across the nation, igniting a fever of excitement. But instead of rushing to the hills, Levi pondered. He saw an opportunity not in mining, but in serving those who did. So he packed his bags, not with a pickaxe, but with bolts of fabric, metal buttons, thread, and a quiet determination. And with that, he set out on a journey that would change his life forever. The year is 1853. Levi arrives in San Francisco, a city that's transformed into a bustling hub of activity. Tents line the streets, shops overflow with supplies, and the air vibrates with the energy of fortune seekers. The streets are rough and unpredictable, much like the journey of those who dare to chase their dreams. Fortune is made and lost by morning. But Levi brings something dependable, not gold, but bolts of canvas, metal buttons, thread, and a calm, enduring sense of practicality. At first, his canvas trousers were meant for tents and wagon covers. But a customer asked if the same sturdy fabric could be used to make pants that did and fall apart at the seams. Levi said yes. And so the earliest work trousers were born. Tough, riveted, built to last. This simple innovation marked the beginning of something extraordinary, a legacy that would soon become synonymous with rugged durability. Then in 1873, Levi partnered with Jacob Davis, a tailor who had been reinforcing trousers with metal rivets at stress points. Together, they refined and patented the design, giving birth to the iconic blue jean. Yet throughout this incredible journey, Levi remained humble. He lived modestly, invested wisely, and gave back generously. He wasn't a showman, not interested in flashy displays of wealth. His success grew quietly, steadily, like a well-crafted garment, one pair of trousers at a time. Today, when we put on a pair of jeans, we're not just dressing practically, we're wearing a piece of history. We're connecting to the spirit of a man who saw value in quality, perseverance, and quiet innovation. Levi Strauss didn't just build an empire, he wove a legacy into the fabric of everyday life. He reminds us that sometimes the greatest adventures aren't about seeking gold, about providing the tools for those who do. They're quiet, they're mysterious, they're almost magical. So pack your bags, grab your cameras, and get ready for an adventure as we tour some of California's eerily silent settlements. Are you ready? All right, let's go. Our first stop is the town of Bodie. It sits up in the mountains, high in the Sierra Nevada, near Mono Pass, about 2 hours east of Yosemite National Park. Back in the day, this area was a part of the Comstock Lode, a massive silver and gold strike in neighboring Nevada. This treasure trove kicked off the biggest bonanza in U.S. mining history, drawing fortune seekers from all across the country. But it was also a hardship. See, while Nevada saw the bulk of the action, the rush extended far beyond its borders. Miners and fortune seekers fanned out into nearby regions like California and Idaho, searching for similar luck. That's how the story of Bodie started. Now, Bodie is part of the Mother Lode, a historic gold mining region in California. The Mother Lode actually starts in Nevada, stretches down into Mono County, California, where it ends at the little town of June Lake. This whole area is rich with gold, so rich that during the height of the gold rush, the land was called the richest square mile on Earth. In fact, it's estimated that since 1850, more than $27 million worth of gold has been extracted from the Mother Lode. So in the 1850s, when miners started finding gold here near Mono Pass, prospectors, entrepreneurs, shopkeepers, and dreamers descended upon the area, creating several small settlements. At its peak, Bodie had nearly 10,000 residents. There were hotels, saloons, boarding houses, a bustling red light district, and even a Chinatown. The mines below churned out gold by the ton. But above ground, life was rough and uncertain. Fires, violence, bitter winters, and lawlessness chewed away at the town's soul. And then, the gold began to fade. The veins of ore narrowed, profits shrank, and people moved on, drawn away by newer strikes, better prospects, or simply the need to survive elsewhere. In the 1890s, the mines shut down. By the 1930s, Bodie had become a ghost of itself. By the 1940s, only a few stubborn souls remained. Today, it rests in a state of arrested decay, carefully preserved but not restored. It's a fascinating place, perfect for photographers and history buffs. You can visit it year-round. Just keep in mind, snow in winter can block the road. If you want to stay overnight, there are cabins available right next to the town. So when you stay there, it feels like you've actually stepped back in time. Now, if you want to learn more about Bodie, the town has a museum with exhibits that tell its story. To get to Bodie, you take Highway 395 north from Bishop, California. It's about 40 miles to the turnoff for Movie Road from here. You drive another 16 miles to reach Bodie State Historic Park. Bodie is open daily from 8 a.m. to sunset. For updated road conditions, check the website before heading out. Next, let us take a trip to the Sierra Nevada foothills to explore the charming town of Columbia State Historic Park. This gem of a town is nestled amidst rolling hills just an hour outside of Sacramento. Unlike Bodie, Columbia State Historic Park is a meticulously maintained living history museum. That means costumed interpreters bring the past to life right before your eyes. It really feels like stepping into a well-preserved piece of California history. But let's rewind a bit. Imagine it's 1850, and you're part of the California Gold Rush, joining thousands of hopeful prospectors seeking their fortune. Now picture this. After a long trek, you stumble upon a sprawling canvas tent city, teeming with activity. This is what you might have seen when you first arrived in Columbia. As you make your way through the busy streets, you hear the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer. It's a murmur of merchants hawking their wares and the lively tunes of a saloon piano. The air is filled with the aromas of freshly brewed coffee, baking bread, and sizzling barbecue. It's a scene straight out of an Old West adventure film, and it's happening right here, right now. Columbia wasn't just a part of the gold rush era. It played a pivotal role in the region's development. The town was instrumental in transporting goods and resources to mining camps, fueling the frenzy of gold extraction. Beyond the mines, though, life wasn't all about hard rock and rough trails. Columbia was also home to a vibrant community of merchants, artisans, and entrepreneurs, who made the town a hub of trade and commerce. Imagine strolling down Main Street, passing storefronts, displaying everything from fine silks to sturdy mining boots. The chatter of merchants trying to draw in customers mingles with the laughter of children playing on the sidewalks. It's a town where the Wild West spirit meets small-town charm. I mean, you're right in the heart of it. Today, Columbia keeps that gold rush spirit alive, with its authentically restored buildings and costumed interpreters, who bring the stories of the town's founders to life. Whether you want to pan for gold like a prospector or browse the shops for unique finds, Columbia offers a taste of history you won't forget. Last but certainly not least, let's head to the Eastern Sierra, to the ghost town of Cerro Gordo. This remote settlement is tucked away in the mountains, adding an element of adventure to your journey. But before we go further, let me give you a fair warning. Reaching Cerro Gordo requires a high-clearance four-wheel drive vehicle, especially after recent rains. And even then, the road is rough, rocky, and steep. But if you're up for the challenge, the reward is a journey back in time that's both eerie and unforgettable. Picture this. It's the late 19th century, and the lure of silver has brought hundreds of hopeful miners and fortune seekers to this rugged landscape. The town of Cerro Gordo was born out of this frenzy, a tiny settlement nestled in a high mountain valley, surrounded by towering peaks and whispering pines. The main street is lined with weathered wooden buildings, each bearing the scars of time and weather. An old jail stands stoic and silent, while the foundations of homes tell tales of lives once lived here. As you walk among these remnants of the past, you can almost hear the echoes of hammers on the railroad, the rumble of miners returning home, and the murmur of families gathered on porches in the fading light. The Cerro Gordo Mining Company operated here between 1866 and 1902, leaving behind a legacy that's as fascinating as it is haunting. If you're lucky, you might spot some remnants of this bygone era, like the remains of a stamp mill or the twisted metal skeleton of a building. These ruins serve as poignant reminders of a community that once thrived in this isolated mountain valley. These three ghost towns, Bodie, Columbia, and Cerro Gordo, offer a glimpse into California's rich history. They remind us of the dreams, struggles, and resilience of those who came before us. So if you're planning a trip, be sure to include these historic sites. Just remember, they're more than just tourist attractions. They're windows to the soul of California's past. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time today. Did any of these places catch your fancy? Let me know which one stood out to you the most. Also, have you been to any other ghost towns? Share your experiences with us. We'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And we'll see you next time. It's late, maybe too late to turn back now. We remaking camp beside a dried-up creek bed under skies so full of stars they look close enough to touch. The campfire sputters, mirroring the exhaustion in our eyes. Tomorrow we head out again. There's no choice, really. Where else would we go? Not back east. That life was left behind with the old folks and the good land. There's nothing for us there anymore. But out here, there's always the next hill, the next bend in the river, the next town. Always the hope of finding something better, something more than what we got right now. Today was hard, harder than most. The wagons stuck in the mud for hours while the cattle pecked listlessly at dry grass. Martha woke up feverish, poor little thing. And when her brother Sam came running in from town, his face white as chalk, we knew it was bad. He lost his leg, his whole lower leg below the knee, taken by the fever and the flies. We buried him before sunset. John's prayed a lot tonight. Thank God for him, for his faith. I pray it holds strong, both for himself and Mary. She's carrying our baby girl. How can anyone think of having a baby in this godforsaken dust bowl? But John says it'll be a blessing, a new life, another chance at happiness. Maybe he's right. What do I know? I'm from back east. Back then, life made sense. Fields stretched forever. Cities had cobblestone streets and horse-drawn trams. The shops along the road were filled with familiar comforts, calico fabric and cast-iron pots, kerosene lamps and fresh loaves of bread. Out here, the ground seems cursed. Nothing grows. Nothing stays put. Everything's always moving, always changing. People, rivers, the wind that whips across the plains and settles in your bones. John saw a wagon train yesterday, families huddling together like frightened birds. They come from Missouri. They heard there's work to be had here. Ha! Work. There's never enough work for everyone. Sooner or later, they'll figure that out too. It's hard to stop the train once you've started. All we ever wanted was a decent life, a bit of land, a house, maybe a farm. But now we're chasing ghosts, ghosts of dreams. There are some things I cannot unsee, the way the children stared with vacant eyes at the sky after the fever took their voices. The slow-motion crash of the stagecoach, the driver's lifeless eyes staring straight ahead. Even now in the dark, I hear screams from Fort Laramie, smell the muskets and blood. On nights like these, it feels like the prairie itself is haunted by those who've died here, died trying to make it here. Every morning at sunrise, I ask myself why we keep going. Why not let the earth swallow us whole, instead of riding this rickety wagon toward a future we might not have? My answer never comes, but I keep riding anyway. It's too late to start over. It's too late to change directions. John believes in our destination, so I believe in it too. It's all I have left to cling to, awake to the same gray sky, a canvas of endless dust. The fire's cold, the coffee's gone, but breakfast smells good. John's making flapjacks on the wagon's iron stove. Arthur's helping, stirring the batter, flipping the pancakes in the pan. And when they're done, I spread some jam on top and eat quickly while it's still warm. Pancakes aren't much, but they remind me of home. Back when my mama used to make them, she'd add a pinch of nutmeg and cinnamon. The kitchen smelled like heaven. I miss her, the way I miss all the things I used to know. Sam's grave is just a little mound of dirt and stones by the side of the trail. We didn't have time to dig a proper hole. We couldn't stop. We shouldn't stop. But when I see that mound, I stop anyway. I pick up a rock and add it to the pile, hoping Sam knows how much we loved him, how proud we were. I wish I could tell him about the eagle feather he found, the one with the prettiest colors. I wish I could tell him about the dream we had, the one where I got to see him just one more time, we standing on a hill, waving his arms, and I was running toward him. Da-da! But the hill kept getting farther away, and he kept getting smaller and smaller until he was gone. "Don't go yet, Mama," he shouted, but I couldn't hear anything else. We're halfway to California now, according to John California. Martha said California too when she saw the painting in the showman's wagon. She said she wanted to see the ocean, the big water. When I look at her sometimes it seems like the prairie wind's already blown her spirit away. She's half-grown woman, half-child, and I don't know which one I'm looking at. Sometimes I want to hold her close, but she steps away, her gaze distant. Sometimes I see a wildness in her eyes, like she's been tasting freedom, and it's sweeter than she imagined. In her, I see my own daughter, the one I might have had if John and I hadn't chased the ghost train out west. The wagon ruts are the only thing keeping us on course. From here, the trail looks straight, but I know the reality. John says we're almost there. He says if we keep going soon, we'll find work. We'll find peace. Soon we'll be settled. Soon will become now, and now will become then. Before long, we won't remember what it meant to be still, to stop, to be present. At night, the crickets chirp a song that sounds like loneliness. During the day, the wind whispers secrets I don't want to hear. Are we nearly there yet? Martha asks every hour. I wonder if she'll be disappointed when we get there. When we finally reach the end of the rainbow, she may find California isn't paved with gold. Maybe it's made of dust, too. There are times I swear the land itself is watching us, waiting for us to break. Times I see twisted branches clawing at the sky like dead hands reaching for God. There are times I hear the buffaloes thundering across the plains, their hooves beating out a war drum rhythm. I hear the spirits of the earth calling out to their own, calling us trespassers, reminding us this land was never ours to take. In my dreams, I am back east in the garden with my mama. Roses climb the trellis, honeysuckle drifts across the fence. The air is sweet with honeysuckle and ripening peaches. The world feels safe the way it should have stayed. I wake with a start, the familiar taste of fear and regret in my mouth. God, if I could go back, I would stay in that garden. I would tend roses and plant potatoes. I wouldn't wander into the wilderness. I wouldn't board that ship. Sometimes at night I pray for rain. I pray it will wash away the bones in the ground, the bones of the ones who never made it, the ones who thought they could outrun the darkness. But the ground is hard and dry. The earth refuses to give. And in my nightmares I run and run, but the horizon keeps moving farther away. I can't catch up to it. If I could talk to the young woman who boarded the train in Chicago, I'd tell her to stay away, tell her it's not worth it. But she wouldn't listen. No one listens to warnings. Keep chasing illusions, chasing lives that shimmer just beyond our grasp. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why we're here. If I could talk to John, I'd ask him why. But he doesn't know either. None of us do. All we have are questions. Questions that ride the rails with us unanswered. There's a coyote in the wagon train. He rides in the middle, leading the way. When he howls, it's like he's talking to the moon. I've never liked coyotes. They remind me of grief, the way they circle and wait for someone to die, for someone to die. We're not running from anything, John said. We're running to a better life. He was wrong, but I didn't want to hear the truth. I still don't. And now we're here. We've reached the end of the journey. At least that's what John says. And I want to believe him. I want to believe California is everything he thinks it will be. A new beginning. A chance to leave all the ghosts behind. As the train rumbles down the tracks, I see the conductor leaning against the door of his car, a trumpet in his hand. He blows a long, mournful note, and I understand. It's a valediction, a farewell to the dead. He's giving them one last chance to get aboard. Those who didn't die on the journey have died anyway, just haven't realized it yet. There's a silence in the cars, broken only by the rhythmic clatter of the train. People stare straight ahead. Some cry. Others close their eyes as if they can shut out what's to come. When we stop, I'll get off the train, stretch my legs, walk around, look at the new land. Then I'll get back on and find my seat again. That's what I always do. I'm a passenger on this train, but but I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. In the hush of the evening, as the sun dips below the jagged teeth of the Sierra Nevada, we find ourselves at the end of our journey through California's gold rush. The air is thick with the scent of sagebrush and the memory of a time gone by. The sky, a vast canvas of twilight, is mirrored in the still waters of Hangtown, where the day's last light dances and fades. Around us, the ghosts of the gold rush linger. In the weathered wood of an old saloon, in the lonely lamplight spilling onto dusty streets, in the chill wind that whispers through the ruins of a long-forgotten mining camp, we've walked among these shadows before, tracing the footsteps of fortune seekers, and outlaws, of dreamers and schemers, of men who came to conquer and those who simply sought to survive. We've stood where thousands once crowded, elbow to elbow, searching for gold, for a piece of the American dream. In the slurp and swish of hydraulic mining, in the rhythmic clang of pickaxes against granite, in the rumble of carts hauling precious or two waiting trains, we've felt the pulse of an era, the relentless drive that turned a trickle of prospectors into a roaring torrent of humanity. But now, as twilight deepens, it's time to pause, to let the silence of the hills settle around us, to listen to the wind's soft lament as it whispers through the grasses. The lanterns of the saloon are flickering, casting long shadows that stretch and distort like the dreams of fortune seekers. The air is thick with the smell of sawdust and stale waste, with the ghosts of laughter and the lingering scent of whiskey. Outside, the wind is rising, carrying with it the dust of 1,000 dreams. Each one a story of hope and hardship, of triumph and tragedy. As darkness falls, we're left with the echoes of music, the phantom strains of fiddles and banjos that once filled these saloons. We hear the ghostly clink of glasses and the murmur of voices raised in song or in argument, the scrape of chairs on wooden floors, the slap of cards on a table, the dice rattling in a gambler's cup. Above it all, the mournful cry of a harmonica, a lonely echo in the vast emptiness of the hills. And then there's the rock. Not just any rock, but a symbol, a promise, a testament. Picked clean of its gold, stripped bare by the relentless search for fortune. It sits silent witness to the hopes that clung to it, to the dreams that were born in its shadow. Now, it's just a rock, cold and heavy and hard. But once it held the weight of a world of possibilities, as the night deepens, we're enveloped by the stillness of the hills. The silence is broken only by the whisper of the wind and the distant cry of an owl. Around us, the darkness seems to press in, a tangible presence, heavy with the weight of untold stories. Let the night be your blanket, the vast expanse of the universe your roof. Let the Milky Way, a river of stars, flow above you. Let the northern lights, a silent symphony of color, dance in the darkness beyond the hills. Let the peace of the mountains settle upon you, the solitude be your companion. For in this vastness, there is a strange comfort, a connection to something greater than our fleeting earthly concerns. Here, under the boundless sky, we find solace in the silence, a silence that speaks of ages past and future, a silence that echoes the rhythm of the earth itself. Here, where the earth is still rich with the stories of the gold rush, where the hills hold memories that time cannot erase, we can finally rest.